Today on Bakes and Blenders, we are making gingerbread marshmallow bites. We're going to fill thin chocolate shells with a molasses marshmallow and give it a chewy gingerbread cookie base. They're beautiful and taste absolutely delicious. Let's get started. We are going to use a food processor to make these gingerbread cookies today. Add your flour, dark brown sugar, spices, and baking soda and salt to the food processor. And process those dry ingredients until they are thoroughly combined. You'll find the recipes used in this video in the description box below. Dot your softened but still cool butter over the dry ingredients. Process on low until the butter is incorporated. This won't take long and you should end up with a nice sandy texture. Add your whole milk to the molasses and stir until it is well combined. It should be nice and thin and a good drizzling consistency. With the food processor running, slowly drizzle in your molasses mixture and continue to process until a ball of dough forms. Take your dough and dump it out onto a piece of cling wrap. Pat it into a flat disc or square, then go ahead and wrap it up. You're going to chill your dough in the fridge for at least 2 hours, or like I did, you can leave it in there overnight. Take your cold gingerbread cookie dough and place it between 2 sheets of parchment paper. Roll it out to a 1/4 inch thickness. I love this rolling pin because it has the thickness guides that you can attach to the sides. It makes it super easy to get an even thickness and you don't have to wonder what a 1/4 of an inch looks like. Every now and then I'll flip my cookie dough over and roll from the underside and then flip it back and continue to roll out my dough. If you're enjoying this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you can see more of my videos. If at any point during the rolling and cutting process you feel like your dough is too soft, just chuck it back in the fridge for maybe 15 minutes, pull it out and continue. Soft dough, warm dough, very difficult to work with. You can also dip your cookie cutter in a little bit of flour, tap off the excess to make sure that the cookies aren't sticking as you cut them out. The circle cookie cutter that I used is 4 centimeters in diameter, which is just over 1.5 inches. The gingerbread cookies will spread slightly in the oven, so you want to choose a cutter that will allow the cookies to spread and still fit in the chocolate covered Oreo mold. So for me, that was 4 centimeters. That one worked perfectly. Use an offset spatula to slide underneath the cookies to lift them up and transfer them to a tray. You can also use your offset spatula to remove any excess dough that gets in the way. If you're enjoying this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you can see more of my videos. Place the tray of gingerbread cookie circles in the fridge to chill for about 15 to 30 minutes. Place the cold gingerbread cookie circles onto a baking sheet lined with a silicone baking mat or parchment paper. Bake the cookies at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 8 minutes. The cookies are done when you gently touch the top and your finger does not leave an imprint. Cool the cookies on the baking sheet for about 5 minutes before transferring them to a cooling rack to cool completely. Melt your chocolate and stir in just a little bit of oil until you have a nice drizzly consistency. Add a tablespoon of your melted chocolate to one of the cavities and then tilt it around until the entire mold is coated. If it looks like there's some excess chocolate in there, you can dump that back into the bowl. Now, I maybe could have added a tablespoon of chocolate to each of the cavities and tilted it all at once, but I'm not coordinated enough, so I did not try that. You can find links to the products that I've used in the description box below this video. Once all of the molds are covered with a thin layer of chocolate, set it aside and let that chocolate set up until it is completely firm and set. Once set, if there are any thin areas along the wall of the molds, go ahead and add a bit more melted chocolate and let that set up too. Now I did one mold with melted chocolate and one mold with salted caramel candy melts. Both options work and taste great. Check out the blog post in the description box below for the pros and cons of each. Our chocolate shells are set, so let's get started on the molasses marshmallow. Place the unflavored gelatin in the bowl of your stand mixer, add 40 milliliters of your water, and stir to combine so that there's no lumps. We're going to set this aside so that the gelatin can bloom while we make our syrup. Add the white sugar, dark brown sugar, light corn syrup, molasses, a pinch of salt, and the rest of the water to a small saucepan and stir to combine. Set the pot over medium heat and bring to a boil. Once the mixture is boiling, go ahead and add a lid to the pot and let that continue to simmer away for another minute or two. Now you can remove the lid and add your candy thermometer. Cook the syrup until you reach 245 degrees Fahrenheit. As soon as your syrup hits the correct temperature, remove it from the heat and turn on your mixer on a medium-low speed. Drizzle your syrup into the bowl, aiming for that space between the bowl and the whisk attachment. Once you've added all of your syrup, go ahead and increase the speed a bit, and you're going to whip for 5 minutes. After those first 5 minutes, increase the speed slightly and continue to whip for another 5 minutes. Now you can add your vanilla and whip until it is just incorporated. Then immediately transfer your molasses marshmallow to a large piping bag fitted with a round piping tip. Now it's time to put together our gingerbread marshmallow bites. You'll need your chocolate shells, your molasses marshmallow, and your chewy gingerbread cookies ready to go. Pipe your marshmallow into the mold, making sure to leave enough room for the gingerbread cookie and a thin layer of chocolate. Immediately top with a gingerbread cookie, pressing it down to evenly disperse the marshmallow. Repeat this step with every chocolate shell. Remember that you'll want to place the top of the gingerbread cookie into the marshmallow because what's facing up is going to become the bottom of our gingerbread marshmallow bites. Once you're done, let the bites sit aside for about 15 to 30 minutes before we add the final coat of chocolate. After you've filled both of your molds, you will likely have some extra marshmallow left over. That's okay because you've also got extra chewy gingerbread cookies. So let's make some sandwich cookies. Just like you're filling macarons, you're going to pipe a blob of your molasses marshmallow onto one of the gingerbread cookies, a nice generous blob. Immediately top with another gingerbread cookie and press down to create a classic sandwich cookie. In fact, if you don't want to deal with the whole Oreo mold and melted chocolate and all that nonsense, just do this with all of your cookies and marshmallow. It's absolutely delicious. I didn't, but if you want to, go ahead and dunk, drizzle, or dip them in chocolate. Yummy. Melt your chocolate with just a little bit of oil and add just enough to the marshmallow bites to cover up the cookie and make a nice even flat bottom. Use an offset spatula to spread out the chocolate, smooth it out, and then gently tap the bottom of the mold to work out any air bubbles that there may be. Repeat this until all of your gingerbread marshmallow bites have a nice chocolatey base. Set the molds aside and let that chocolate set up completely before you unmold them. Both of my molds are set, so I am ready to take them out. I'm putting on some food prep gloves simply so that I don't leave any fingerprints on my bites, but you don't have to use the gloves. Carefully peel the mold away from the edge of the shell and push the shell up, and then you can gently remove it from the mold. Some of my shells were a little too thin and you can see the filling through it. If your shells are also on the thin side, you need to be extra careful that you don't break them. After you've removed all of your shells from the mold, you may notice that some of the edges are a little ragged because they weren't cleaned up well enough. That's not a big deal. Take a sharp paring knife and very gently just scrape off, trim off any of that excess chocolate or candy melts that's sticking out along the bottom. Now, these gingerbread marshmallow bites look beautiful as they are, but I just can't leave them naked. So I went ahead and I drizzled my chocolate shells with a little bit of the salted caramel candy melts, and I drizzled my salted caramel candy melt shells with a little bit of the chocolate. Both came out beautiful and both tasted exquisite. I loved this recipe. The thin chocolate shell just kind of melts in your mouth, and then you're left with this soft, slightly bittersweet molasses marshmallow on top of a nice spiced chewy gingerbread cookie. It was like everything that I wanted for this season. The spices, the textures, everything was there. It was delicious. Thanks for watching this video. I really hope you liked it, and I hope that you get to make your own gingerbread marshmallow bites soon. You might like some of my other videos, so check out the screen right now. I'll see you in the next one. Happy baking!